Welcome back to WagerTalk.com. This is the weekly series where we have question and answers with the Sports Cheetah. We got Brian sitting in as well. And this week's questions from Twitter came from Joe Boo, Southern 49er, and Zona Cats, and they're all NBA related this week as we head into the playoffs, final week of the regular season, guys. And first question we had was, do the Raptors have a shot at winning the East? They've been the second best team pretty much all year long. And the second part of that question is, what do you think of the Celtics? Do they have a shot, Preston?
Yeah, I think the Raptors question is coming up a lot. I had a few other people that we didn't give shout-outs asking about the Raptors as well in my mentions. And if you didn't see this, I should say, go check it out. It's on my feed somewhere, but I tweet a lot, but you can just probably Google it. But there's a recent video after the Spurs played the Raptors, and Popovich is going to shake hands with Dwayne Casey after the game ended. And you can kind of tell what Pop says, and someone, zoomed in and has a vine that repeats. And he says something to the resort of, I think you guys are going to be the ones in the finals. And he turns, and kind of Casey looks at him and he's like, no, I swear to God, no BS. Like, I think you're going to be the team in the finals. And so if people saw that video and everyone's thinking, well, if Popovich thinks the Raptors are going to win the East, he knows something. I mean, he's Greg Popovich. So I personally think the Cavs are still going to be the team to represent the East. But the Raptors have been playing great basketball. What will probably eventually do it for me, if they are the Eastern Conference Finals matchup, is the Raptors haven't really been tested a ton before. Even last year, they kind of got tested as favorites against the Wizards and got swept. So I don't know. I just think they're a year or two away still from being a team that could really win the conference. But it's fun to talk about. NBA playoffs is like one of my favorite times of the year. A lot of people think March Madness is great, which it is. Other than college football, I love the NBA. That's my second favorite league. So I'll be following it very closely. Ultimately, though, I think the Cavs are still like minus 400 to 500, depending on the book, to win the East. So they're super favorites for a reason, and I think they'll get it.
Yeah, I think the NBA, when you have a young team that blossoms quickly, like Toronto's been getting better every year.
And Boston, yeah.
Until it's like a learning curve. You got to pay your dues. You get good during the regular season, but then the playoffs become a totally different animal, and you got to kind of, earn your bones, so to speak, before you get to that next level. You got to, win that first round series, and then move on into the second. And we saw that with teams in the West, with Oklahoma City when they first, got to the playoffs. You don't instantly find your way into the NBA Finals generally.
I do a lot of reading and a lot of autobiographies and everything, and all the NBA players say it takes time. You just read the Jordan books or the other books of anybody who's had a lot of success in the NBA. I do want to point out that Toronto's got a big advantage to me at the guard position. If the guards are driving, getting into the hoop, and hitting their shots, Toronto could beat Cleveland. Because I talked about the Cleveland's defense from the guards isn't that great. So it's a possibility, but I don't see it happening.
Let's shift gears. The Celtics are playing a little bit better now, and of course they got that big win in Golden State last week. And this is a team that, we know what Brad Stevens can do as a coach. We saw him on the college level, and a lot of times you don't see that, crossover, go from college to have that same success in the NBA. You go from young kids to little bit, older kids, but with a lot of money in the NBA, and sometimes they just don't buy into you. But Brad Stevens has Celtics playing good basketball, and this is a team on the rise. They showed signs of it at the end of last season, and they've definitely progressed this year.
Yeah, and I think they're still, a couple of years out from really contending to win a conference or a title. As a fan, I really want to see Kevin Durant sign in Boston. I don't know why. I just think it would be a fun fit. He'd go to the East, and I think they'd immediately be, right there with Cleveland, because they have so many young pieces and they're coached so well. And for Durant to have a coach, to go from, Donovan and Scotty Brooks to Brad Stevens would be phenomenal for Kevin Durant's basketball game, I think, in general. So I'm as a fan, I want to see Durant go there. They need a player like that, I think, to really take them to that next level. But they're going to be, if I'm not mistaken, Brian might know for sure, did Boston play Cleveland in the first round last year? Were they the eights?
We did. We played.
I'll say it, and I'll be the one that's wrong if not. But I'm pretty sure they played and they got swept but they were in the fourth quarter of like three of
Most of
those
the
four
game,
games. And if they're matching up again, Brad Stevens getting another shot at Cleveland, I think it'd be fun to see them in a second-round matchup. And I think Boston would get a couple games, maybe two, but not going to win a series.
Yeah, Boston's a team on the improve, and they remind me a little bit of the Cubs a couple years ago, where you're getting a little in the minors. You're getting these guys, and eventually they're going to be good. Boston's going to be a contender in 3 years.
All right, we got to wrap this up. The general question out there, if it's not the Cavs in the East and it's not the Warriors or the Spurs in the West, who can do it?
I don't think the Thunder can, but you have to pick them if it's not one of those other three teams, because they have two of the best four talents in the NBA with Durant and Westbrook. But after that, their team's really bad and they're not coached well. But there's a chance that both of those guys just go nuts and somehow beat the Spurs in a series, somehow beat the Warriors in a series, and somehow beat the Cavs. It's just not very likely. I think it'd probably pay something like 25-1 if you wanted to do a series rollover with the Thunder. So if you want to take a long shot, the Thunder, I guess, have the best shot, but I wouldn't bet it.
Brian, anybody?
Yeah, there's a lot of good teams, but as you pointed out, they don't have the experience yet. So it looks like a three-team race to me.
All right, guys, good stuff. Hey, every Tuesday, check out at wagertalk.com. It's $2 Tuesday. We pick one of our cappers. We offer his best bet and give it to you for just $2. Check it out each and every Tuesday at wagertalk.com. We'll be back with more here at Wager Talk.